come to order. Rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the village board meeting of August 28th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Possession?
Here.
Kraus? Gardner?
Here.
Stacy?
Here.
Terry?
Here.
Giannotti?
Here.
You've got minutes from the past meeting in your packet. If anyone has changes, additions, if not, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Motion and a second. Roll call.
Possession?
Abstain.
Gardner?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Giannotti?
Abstain.
That's three.
And there is no village clerk report.
No.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the board? Okay, under my report, we have a certificate of recognition that our chief of police would like to present. So, yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. It's my honor today to present a nice handsome plaque to Bob Hine, and I want to tell you why we're doing it. First of all, he didn't know about it. But as soon as his wife walked in,
There's a look of shock.
This award should also be going to sheriff too, because she put up with him being gone all the time. They say the true judge of character of a person is what they do when no one's looking, and that's Bob Hine. All the stuff he does that none of you really know what he's doing sometimes. He's extremely helpful to the police department, the fire department. Chief Falichetti's here as well, Matt, the Public Works Department, and Illinois Partners in Hope, which he helps out every week as well. Some of the things that Bob's done for the police department is Bob and all the EMA. We have Brandon, Sherry, Laurie, and and Dale, the Deputy Director Dale's here as well. David. So they're all here to honor Bob as well. But whenever we have an incident, the fire department has an incident, Public Works has an incident, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, Bob is there all the time. When we had this burnout festival at the Lions Club, we tried to keep the expenses down by not having a bunch of policemen there, so I did it, and Bob showed up, and I sure needed you that day, Bob. Sure needed you that day. In all my years, I have never seen a volunteer like Bob Hine. He is always there when you need him. When we retire a squad car, we give it to EMA, and when we give it to him, they're in bad shape. Bob Hine spends days cleaning these inside and out, and by the time he's done, I really want the car back. So, in recognition of all his efforts, I'd like to read you the plaque says, in recognition of your selfless efforts supporting the Village of Beecher, the Beecher Emergency Management Agency, Illinois Partners in Hope, the Beecher Fire Protection District, and the Beecher Police Department. You are a shining example of an unselfish volunteer that makes our village stronger, safer, and united. Each agency is fortunate to have you. And before I present it to him, Barb Dorman wanted me to read a letter that she wrote. She was going to be here, but she got called off at the last minute. As owner of South Lawn Voice, let me tell you a little story about Bob Hine. It's not little because it's 4 pages here. A couple years ago, Chief Lemming came to get some office supplies and copy paper donations from Free Food Pop-Up, a local 501c3 that donates more than food to people, organizations, churches, and municipalities. We are based in Crete and have a warehouse in Steger. I believe Bob came with the chief the first and second time. After that, Bob started coming every Wednesday to help when we get in deliveries of 12 skids of miscellaneous items. And it's really hard work, because I've done it a couple times as well. Over 3,000 people have gotten food and not had to worry about where their next meal was coming from. With Bob's assistance, these same people did not have to make the horrible decision of picking between gasoline or vehicle or food on the table. With Bob's assistance, thousands of people in Texas, Mississippi, Florida, Tennessee, Indiana, and Illinois have received much-needed hand soap, detergent, clothing, toiletries, furniture, and Bob's assistance. Thousands of people in Ukraine received food, toiletries, medical items. Local veterans have been able to receive goodie bags filled with toiletries and sweets every couple of months for at these events that Southland Voice hosts, and Bob contributes to every week. Hundreds of homeless people in the area, in the greater Cook County area, receive blankets, shoes, boots, winter coats, gloves, and hats because of Bob's assistance. Overall, 300 children in need were able to receive new clothes, coats, shoes, boots. In the last 2 years, over 400 children in need were able to receive new toys from the free food pop-up, toys for tots distribution, and with Bob's assistance, Free Pop-Up was able to start a medical closet at Post 131 in South Heights. Over 1,500 units of entertainment, including DVDs, VHS, CDs, and record albums have been made their way to Pontiac, Illinois to be cleaned and organized by former Illinois State Treasurer Dan Rutherford, and then will be mailed to seniors in special needs facilities. Hopkins Park, which was one of the poorest townships in the state, is not even the poorest 10 any longer because of at least 200,000 pounds of food that's been sent there almost every week because of things that Bob's done, plus clothing, household appliances, furniture, and school. That's it. The library did not have hand soap for 2 weeks until they started getting items from the Free Pop-Up. The pantry was only able to be open 1 day a week for 2 hours. It is open 2 to 3 days a week for at least 4 hours. We at the Southtown Voice, Free Pop-Up, and several states in the U.S. salute Bob Heim for his unwavering dedication to helping others without exception of fame or glory. He does all these things because it's the right thing to do, not so he can get something out of it. He does not get paid in a monetary way. He gets paid in the satisfaction of being able to help someone in need just because he can. I totally agree. Without knowing how much of a difference he has made in the lives of thousands, and he is not done yet, we have much more to do. So, Bob, if you come up, we're going to give you the plaque. Like I said, Bob had no idea that this was happening, so he's a very humble guy. So.
Maybe warned them, got no shorts, like.
Speech! Speech! No speech.
We can Photoshop you in a uniform.
Thanks, Bob, for all you do.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, thanks.
Bob.
Okay. We are going to skip ahead in the program past my report. We'll come back to that. For Public Buildings and Properties, Parks and Recreation Committee, Trustee Giannotti, we're going to talk about the public safety facility.
So, I'd like to just start with this one. Okay. I'd like to consider a motion letting bids for the Beecher Public Safety Facility to be located at 250 West Church Road. The architects are here with us today to provide the board with an update on the final plans for the building and to explain the bid process and schedule. Also to provide advice as to when to go to bid. The village board can then set a bid schedule. Bids would be opened at the Washington Township Center during the day, and the process takes a few hours. This will be explained tonight during the meeting. So,
We will turn it over to JMA. Jim, you can go back there, that's where your boards are at.
Absolutely.
thank you, sir.
That way the camera can catch you real nicely. All right, good evening, trustees,
President Meyer. Jim Maciejewski with JMA Architects. I'm joined tonight with Wayne Babiak, our project architect, Jerry Maciejewski, our senior construction manager, and we are here tonight to discuss the next steps of the project with you for the public safety facility. Quite a bit of work has been undertaken and a lot of study sessions with administration and with the police department to get the design honed in on exactly what the needs are of the police department. There's been a lot of effort made to adjust the plan and get it to where the police department feels that their needs are all being satisfied with this design. So we do have a copy of the finalized floor plan, and we have the site plan and elevations of the building on this board, which I can go through with you if you have questions. But rest assured, that's been poured over many times to get it in its final stage, and we feel very confident that it reflects a plan that will serve the village in the near term and the far term. Building's approximately 11,400 square feet. We do have a proposed schedule for you to consider. What was mentioned in the motion is we would discuss options for that. We do feel that the time is right to release the project to bid, and it's our recommendation that the board consider that. With your approval tonight, we would begin a notice to potential bidders of the pending release of the documents, with the documents ultimately being formally distributed to bidders on September 8th. That gives us some time to get everybody cued in on the fact that it's coming and what our schedule is. We would have a pre-bid meeting the week of the 25th. I would also ask the ability, if possible, to have that at the Washington Township Center, just because of the potential size of the crowd. And then bid opening proposed, at least on this schedule, subject to your review and approval, would be October 4th. Information, the results of that bid would be distributed back to the board at your meeting on October 10th. And then ultimately, we would come back with a formal recommendation for contract award at your meeting on October 23rd for you to consider. We would be seeking bids in the packages listed, ranging all the way from site infrastructure through fencing, so you can see what that proposed breakdown is. And again, the intent is to have multiple bidders respond to each of those categories to try to achieve the best competition we can for the project. That's the motion that we're asking you to consider tonight, but if you have any questions about the building itself or the schedule, I'd be happy to answer that.
Can you put the exterior up on? The one thing that kind of surprised me in the whole thing, and you can see it a little bit way to the left, is that there's going to be a rather significant retaining wall on the back of the building, on the back of the site.
That's back here, right?
Yeah, you can see it on the upper picture to the left a little bit up there, I think.
Well, from the site, coming into the building, that will appear almost as a curb on your side, and the drop-off is north of that in terms of the grade change. So we're trying to keep that level of this parking lot at a certain point, and given the proximity to the adjacent grade, that's what's forcing that retaining wall.
So actually the exposed concrete would be to the north?
On the north side, correct.
Okay, and we talked about putting some kind of,
Well, what we're
Temporary
proposing
stone.
doing there, Bob, is it'll be a poured concrete retaining wall, and instead of trying to veneer it with stone, you can actually get, when they put the forms up for this, you can actually get an imprint that could actually be
stamped concrete.
Like stamp.
like in there. You see a lot of times you drive down these, maybe down the interstates, you see these sound walls and things. A lot of that is actually formed when they pour the concrete. And you get, you can get the thing colored and everything else, but versus trying to lay up, having a concrete wall there and then laying a width of masonry in front, which would be, more expensive to do. So that's our recommendation there. Unfortunately, the building, the site does drop the civil engineer, Piggish Engineering, has been wrestling with this site. It's not an easy site, it's a narrow site, as you know, and the ground is a little deceiving. you stand over there by the car wash, look at Church Road, and it looks like there's a subtle, it's more than a subtle roll there to the north. It actually, there's a pretty good amount of differential grade elevation change there. And he, Mr. Pickett just recently updated a couple things on his drawings where he raised the building up, the grade floor elevation of the building about another 8 or 9 inches to get more of a balanced effect with the excavation and everything. Yet, we're still with the wall there to get that, I guess to eliminate that wall together, you're gonna do it, you have this building sunk way down, which you don't wanna do. So he's bringing it up, but back, on the back north side, yeah, you get this drop in there, and,
I just want to make the board aware that there will be a retaining wall there.
yeah.
Because that's something we never really discussed at this level.
Right, and it wasn't apparent initially, as Wayne mentioned, when the engineering was completed. And again, in an attempt to balance the site, again, we're trying to work with not having to truck off material wherever possible. So the engineer looks to balance the site and keep as much of the material on the site as possible. And he is trying to establish the floor elevation of the building in relation to the street and the other high points and low points of the property. So in setting that dictates certain things, and we can't really do anything to change the grade north of the property. So that's what's forcing that wall. But it's really in the scheme of things, it's probably desirable in the effect of balancing the site.
Chief, you happy with the interior?
Very happy.
Did the board get a final blueprint of the inside?
I think so. And we can send it out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, if you said it's sent out, I don't remember.
Especially like the chief's hot tub.
Make sure you have that, right?
You weren't supposed to break that up.
Hopefully it's a single.
It really hasn't, the interior really hasn't changed substantially from.
Just subtle
the first
changes.
plan.
Yeah, we have little minor tweaks here and there, and doing the construction drawings, wall moves, inches here, something happens over here. It's not like the basic plan that we had out for the last number of months is what you see up there, and yeah, stuff gets subtly tweaked here and there to make things work construction-wise, and maybe do a slight minor tweaking before it goes out next week on a couple things, but
Yeah, the biggest meeting we had was on the zoning of HVAC was probably the most
Correct.
intricate.
So much fun.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the last piece was the electric and computer cabling, and we did that about a week or two ago.
we met last week on that.
Yeah, and now it's ready to go. But yeah, we can send out the finals.
Anybody has any questions, or?
I can leave these if you'd like.
That'd be great, and I'll
Yeah, you
make sure
can
they
have
get
them, of
PDFs
course. Bob, I just send you a PDF of those,
of the finals.
anyways, it's really, what's up there, you have a PDF copy.
I got those yesterday already, yeah.
Well, I sent that today again, I think I sent
Did
it.
you?
Yeah. But anyway, whatever, but yeah, so there's a smaller version that could be printed.
Jim, unless, is there any questions? No. It's back to the committee chair.
With this for a while.
Thanks, James.
Ready to go?
The only question I have is if we open bids on the 4th, are you here to be there for those?
I'll be here for that.
I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah, I'll be
I don't have to be there for the bid opening, but it's intricate.
I'll be here.
Okay. I don't know, Joe,
I should be able to make it fourth.
on the 4th, okay.
Are you, Bob, are you not here, like, gone? Or just
I'm
not?
gone until the 6th. But I don't wanna hold this bid process up.
And again, the bid opening is just, no decisions are made, basically the bids are open and read.
Open it.
Probably.
And, what do you always say during this or before or after that, thank you for coming out, bidding, so on, bids will be taken under advisement, and so nothing's really decided that day anyway.
9 or 10 a.m. start on that?
I would probably 10 a.m. start.
Yeah. Probably go
Um,
2,
Now,
something like that.
there's a little bit of a logistical, it'll probably go for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And logistically, if we do open the bids there, typically we would have the bids delivered here So we have to make a decision if the bids will be delivered here and transported over.
Yeah.
Right, we could have a cutoff time here and then brought there. Invariably, there's probably gonna be some confusion on somebody's part, and they're gonna show up there with it, so, I think it'd be good that we have a procedure to have the building open, so that if somebody does show up, we can receive it.
The building will be open at 9 o'clock that day.
Would there be somebody there that could receive?
Yes, or I think the township secretary is there at 9.
Yeah, that would be good, so that way if somebody comes here, then it could get transported over for the opening, and if somebody brings it there, it'll get logged in, so.
And we'll go ahead and reserve that building for that date and time. I don't know if anything's going on there.
Yeah, if something has to change, we could adjust that, obviously.
But the key is to get the bid results in front of the board on the 10th, which is a Tuesday, because the 9th is Columbus Day.
Correct.
Then we could discuss the bids and then actually do a formal award on the 23rd, so that gives us another 2 weeks, because you never know where these bids are gonna fall.
And that gives us time to properly vet them and make the recommendation to you, so that you're getting basically a recommendation on the lowest qualified bid for the project.
Is there a construction timeline that comes with that, or is that after the opening of this?
Now, we would be looking for contractors to start in the fall, so we would mobilize with the site work. That would be the first process. We're not looking to incur winter condition costs on the project, so the project will progress as long as weather is favorable for it to progress, and then it'll pause as it needs to, and then resume in the spring. Each contractor that submits a bid is asked to submit their manpower loaded schedule, so it'll dictate, what, for various tasks that we outline for them, how they choose to man it, what the work days would be, and then we'll use that to assemble a final overall schedule. But we will give a window of start and finish that we're looking to achieve.
Thank you. When would the building be ready for movement? Fall of 24 then? A year?
I think that's
Pretty reasonable.
reasonable outcome.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for the letting of bids of the Beecher Public Safety Facility to be located at 250 West Church Road.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Who seconded?
You. Roger.
Roger, okay, sorry. Giannotti?
Yes.
I tried, Joe.
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
Possession?
Yes.
And then I'm gonna go back up to my report.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
man.
Thank you.
See you on the board.
All right, the next item is to consider a motion authorizing the village attorney to draft an ordinance increasing the number of Class B liquor licenses by one to allow for the sale of beer only at 755 Penfield per Phyllis Harden. Mrs. Harden came to the last meeting making this request, but before a license could even be granted, the ordinance has to change to increase the number of licenses available. Staff has concerns regarding to the request due to an lack of identifiable business plan, name of the business, etc. There were photos provided, but no floor plan was provided. There was discussion of leaving it the way it is, closing up access to the business door next door. So I guess there's a lot of questions that you guys might have with this, and I know Phyllis is here tonight. What stage are you at this point? Do you have a
Well,
name
right
for the
now,
business?
because I didn't know how this worked, at first, that's why I was asking you, so when I came last week and then found out that it had to be voted on, and everyone had to be present in order for the voting to take place. So then when I reached out to you to find out what I needed, then you just responded to me today, but that's okay. So all I've done is, I do have a floor plan, and then I've only searched out for my LLC name. I know I want the name to be, so the application isn't complete because I'm trying to find out if it's even going to be possible.
Okay. And then in order to actually apply, you would still have to show a lease on the property, not a sublease, you would have to have it leased under your name, a full menu, you know, floor plan, et cetera, the forms would have to be filled out, et cetera.
Okay.
So I guess what comes to you guys is, there's actually a few ways this could go. You could ask questions you have, you could say, let's wait and decide and find out what the final business plan is, whether or not we wanna grant it. If you don't wanna grant it at all, that's something else you can do. I know I've had concerns, and we talked about it last time, about having, basically it's gonna end up being 2 liquor licenses in the same address. My concern about that is, if you get your liquor license and then Sophia's decides to sell to somebody else wants to come in and have a liquor license, now we still have 2 liquor licenses at the same address. I'm not real interested in having 2 liquor licenses in one building, but that's just me. So there's a couple of ways this could go. We could wait until all the paperwork is complete. You could come up with your ideas now as to the way you're leaning towards this. I'm gonna leave that open to discussion. Do you guys have questions?
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
So I do have concerns. I don't particularly care to favor to have 2 liquor licenses at the same address. It's my opinion that I feel that if I were to place a vote tonight, I would probably vote no, only because I want to be able to see what you have to offer. I think that if you come up with your LLC and you have a game plan and a floor plan and a menu and different things that shows me that I guess you're prepared and ready, then that would persuade my vote to vote in your favor. But I understand your concerns in having a business, but at the same time, I don't want to ruin business that's already there. So, and I don't know as to what's going on, but that's just kind of how I feel.
I know as far as gaming cafes in the past, and we've got at least one new board member, I don't remember since the last time we've talked about it, that some people feel that, gaming cafes are just, okay regardless. There have been others that have felt that each one would be considered on its own basis based on what it brings to the community. Is this something interesting? Is it something new? Is it just another, drinking and having, gaming? And kind of the boards in the past have said they kind of wanted to check each one individually to see if this is something that would bring value to the community. So that's a little difficult to do at this stage,
Just kind of springboard off Joe, I think I'm in the same camp with having a more developed plan would probably be in my favor of seeing, but I'm still on the same page with, 2 liquor licenses in the same building, and the address is technically the same as that other establishment, so I don't know if there's different suite numbers or something like that, but it seems a little early on my part to decide on, with where you're at in the process to add another liquor license, because I think the whole point of where we put the liquor licenses was to have the ability when something was prepared to be able to decide on it. This doesn't seem prepared at this point. It could get there, but it just doesn't seem like at this point.
And that's why I was asking ahead of time, about, what were the procedures
Okay.
of being able to obtain the license.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not gonna spend some money if I'm not gonna get a license.
Absolutely.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know about nobody else, but it does to me.
Yeah, so what expense were you looking at? Because I know we had talked before, we met before in the past. And I know you expressed that concern about spending money, and I think, was that like to get your LLC or?
No, not so much as that, because with the LLC, I could do other things with it, you can do DBAs for like my catering business. So I can go to different businesses with the LLC.
Gotcha.
But, just to be able to know that the liquor license is going to be a doable thing for building the business that's already there and kind of set up already. And it is a different address, but, you know, the expense is going to be closing off the wall, you know, building the kitchen piece. Everything else is already there.
Okay. And that's the kind of stuff I think they wanna look at as far as, you know, what that's gonna look like as far as where the kitchen's gonna be, something a little more detailed. You know, I don't wanna speak for everybody, but.
The floor plan would help.
Okay, but I had it last week, but I didn't know you needed it. You know, I had it when I had the pictures. So, I'm sorry, and then,
Yeah.
and
No,
then when I
that's
left
okay.
home, I just left the folder.
That's okay, and that's in the ordinance, it shows like, you know, exactly what you need to be able to.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
I'll just go on record too, just to put, so that, you know, my knowledge, or what I'm thinking is out there. I'm firmly in the, you know, I wanna be able to look at what the case is for the business before making a decision on that situation. From the perspective, like the president mentioned, of knowing what is this business gonna bring to the community, you know, so that's what's definitely gonna help inform my vote.
There's still a lot of gray area, you know, that needs to be cleared up, I think, before anything can be moved forward, in my opinion.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I will say I completely understand not wanting to spend time and money to get it together. Having done some of that stuff. And I think everyone on the board knows my opinion. I'm not a big fan of gaming cafes in general. I'm one that asked to change the ordinance to limit to whatever was out there is done. And then we'll see if someone can bring something else to the community. If it's something like full service, like if you were to buy the entire thing and needed something like that, that's where I'd be more inclined for a yes vote. I personally am just not a fan of, I think we're saturated the gaming cafes that we have, so I'm not a fan of that in general. But I do appreciate you coming back a second meeting to find out what's going on.
Well, I didn't think that it was a matter of saturating the community because it was an existing business already.
It just creates two of them where there was one.
Yeah, just one correction, if that other business were to sell and that liquor license was granted, you in theory could have
Two of
two
them.
adjoining gaming
Right.
cafes.
Right. Or
Because
two adjoining bars, you know.
liquor dictates gaming, gaming doesn't dictate liquor, and if we issue liquor license, we can't stop the issuance of gaming license.
Right.
And I think that's the concern I'm hearing, you know, that could
Right.
happen.
Is having the two, yep. Okay, anybody else want to say anything? You don't have to.
So what is the next step?
So, next step for you is the full application, floor plan, name of your business, as complete as you can possibly get with that paperwork that you had. Because I know when you brought it in before, it wasn't completely filled out then and you weren't sure of the next step. If that gets completely filled out so that you've got a business name, you know exactly what your menu's going to be, you can submit that.
And that shouldn't cost a lot of money to do.
No, that's not gonna cost you
Filing it with
anything.
anybody, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep it on the agenda, so it's a
Yep.
standing agenda item.
Yep, and we will table it for tonight.
Okay, can I just say, my name is spelled Phyllis.
What is it?
Phyllis.
Oh, two L's, one S.
And it's Hardin West.
Hyphen West. All right.
And just so you know, this is definitely probably not the only spelling error in this packet, so.
I've been through that before.
Wait a minute.
I gotta get in now, Bob, you're gonna be gone soon, sooner than later, so.
What did I say
It's my
last
name,
time?
but that could be a different person.
What did I say
I
last
understand.
time that hit the front page of the Vedette, that we didn't hire him for his typing skills? All right,
Okay, so
all right,
it's
yeah,
on for the next meeting, is that what I'm hearing?
yep, yep. Or whenever you get all your information together, and that, whenever you're done with it, drop it off at Village Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll keep it on the agenda, so it's
Yeah,
there. if-
Okay.
you don't have to wait for the meeting to do that. If you bring it into Village Hall, it gives them time to get everything copied, to get it out to the trustees in the packet,
Okay.
so.
All right,
All righty,
thank you.
thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, we have a proclamation for National Rail Safety Week in Village Beecher. So, whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across the United States from September 18th to 24th, 2023, whereas 2,194 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 803 personal injuries and were responsible for 274 fatalities in the United States during 2022. And whereas 1,208 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 658 pedestrians being killed and another 550 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights-of-way during 2022. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, this is a tongue twister, are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety, to enforce applicable laws in support of National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, I, Marcy Meyer, Village President, do hereby attest my full support for claiming September 18th to 24th, 2023 as National Rail Safety Week, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety education. All right, we will do a request for executive session later on in the meeting. In the meantime, Finance and Administration Committee, Trustee Krause.
Consider a motion for approving the bills and payroll since last meeting. So does anybody have any questions about the bills? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $72,914.85.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
You guys are fighting over it, so cute.
Discussion. Roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Consider a resolution transferring $230,000 from the water main replacement account to the ARPA account to eliminate a due from on the books and to properly extend said funds. The village board approved a motion to transfer $230,000 from the ARPA account to the water main replacement account in 2022 to pay the remaining costs of the Gould Street water main project. The village board at the time instructed staff by motion to consider the transfer alone and create a due back to ARPA to pay for other projects. The village's auditors wish to treat this funding as being spent on water main replacement in fiscal year 2022, triggering a yellow book federal compliance audit. The auditors have determined that the best course of action to take within the guidelines of the U.S. Treasury and to eliminate the need for a compliance audit is to transfer those funds back to ARPA this fiscal year. The following resolution on the agenda will place these funds back into the water main account. Resolution number?
2023-13.
So I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2023-13, transferring $230,000 from the water main replacement account to the ARPA account to eliminate the due to fund.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Consider a resolution transferring all remaining funds in the ARPA account on January 2024 to the water main replacement account to be used for Dixie Highway crossover water main replacement project and closing the ARPA account. This will ensure the auditor expenditure of all ARPA funds as required by law, and even though water main replacement will have ARPA dollars in it, the auditors will treat ARPA as being closed out this fiscal year. This will be within the guidelines of the U.S. Treasury Report 14.
Yep.
See, I do learn. I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2023-14, transferring all remaining funds in the ARPA account on January 1st, 2024 to the water main replacement account to be used for Dixie Highway crossover water main replacement project.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
So,
Roll call.
so basically, we'll send the 230 from water replacement back to ARPA, and at the end of the year, it goes from water main,
Goes from ARPA back to water
back
main.
to water main, okay.
And we approved up to 30,000 of that 230 to be used to finish the ARPA projects you've already approved.
Mhm.
But Matt, you said you're gonna end up with about $6,000 at the end of the day, or something like that?
I don't think we'll need any part of that 30,000.
So that 230 will just, whatever's left in that ARPA account, because you're earning some interest, will get swept
Mhm.
and go into the water main replacement account. And that satisfies our audit requirements with you as treasurer. Because that due to on the books can only stay on there for so long,
Mhm.
treasury wants that money spent.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
Because if we didn't do this, we would have to eliminate the due to eventually, correct?
Yes, you would have.
So that's what we're getting rid of it.
This is a semantic thing, but makes the auditors happy.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Possession,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
That completes my report.
Okay. Public Buildings and Properties Parks and Recreation Committee, trustee Giannotti for the remainder of your report.
Thank you, President. We'll start with number 2. Project Pickle update. So, Matt sent me some really nice pictures, and we're done. We are all painted. He's waiting on the nets
I'm waiting
for futsal.
on futsal nets, which should be here Wednesday, and we plan on getting those installed on either Thursday or Friday. Looking for a opening date from you guys, when we actually want to open it. If you guys are looking to do a ribbon cutting, anything like that. Pickleball nets and basketball hoop are installed. We're only waiting on the futsal nets at this time. So.
And you ordered the signage, right?
I did order some signage. I didn't do anything with the parking stuff. I ordered a couple, say like enter here, and then a couple signs that say smile, you're on camera. So,
Oh, that's perfect.
yeah.
Are there any rules that the board wants to put on? Like, we could buy a sign that has the rules?
Kind of like we did with the splash pad. That was something that I was thinking too. I'm assuming that there's probably some generic signage made up from other communities, since this is a pretty popular thing. Ours may be a little different just because there's 3 different sports in there, but you could just do court rules in general. And
It's first comes, first served, I
Right.
would assume.
Mhm.
What are the hours? You want to open from sunrise to 10 PM?
so the
I think the hours were.
the IGA
In the IGA was.
state curfew as a close. It doesn't really discuss opening. My plan as far as opening was we're just gonna leave the gate open. I don't think we need to open and close it daily and things like that.
Courts close at curfew.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I do need some guidelines on what curfew kind of fluctuates a little bit between Thursdays and to Fridays, just so we can set the timer correctly on the lights. If we wanna do 9:30 or leave them off at 10 or.
I would say, just because of the the time changing and all that, and changing the time clock on that, it's not gonna be like changing the time clock on the park. It's in the school's panel, it's
Right.
locked by the school, so if we set it at 10 o'clock, those cameras are night vision, but
Right now,
set
there's.
till 10, that way the police are driving by, they see kids out there past curfew, they can swing in there after 10 o'clock,
And shack.
you know, after
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Right now, they're shutting off at midnight. We watched the cameras today to see what time they were actually, and they shut off a couple minutes before midnight, so we can change that though.
Over the summer, yeah. Is it year round? What's curfew? That's nine.
Well, changes on the weekends, and then
It's
changes
Yeah.
in the summer, doesn't it?
Isn't it 9 during the week?
Mm-hmm.
Does it change? Wait, does it
During the
change
school
in the
year?
summer?
I honestly think 10 o'clock is late enough because I've been hearing that pickleball does create some noise.
Oh, it does, yeah.
And I don't want to have, abuse the privilege of having it where it is.
Then just do 10.
10 o'clock?
10,
So they make it 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock,
Just
lights
do
pop
straight
off,
10.
we're
Yeah.
closed.
10 o'clock, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
It's reasonable. Cause what's the noise ordinance during the week?
9 o'clock, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it gets too loud.
yeah. But 10 o'clock's reasonable, and if we want to readdress it later, you can.
Mhm.
Okay, when is the open date? Did you get that answered?
So,
When's it ready? I mean,
just
It'll be-
suggestion, it's Memorial Day week, obviously.
Labor
Maybe
Day.
if we opened it on Friday and then we do a formal ribbon cutting a little bit later. Cause we got the concert coming up on Saturday, it's gonna be kind of a chaotic weekend for everyone. Maybe do a soft opening this weekend and just say, hey, it's open on the Facebook page, and then roll from there. We'll set some formal photo op.
If you do invite the school,
Yeah,
invite the school
board,
districts.
school board superintendent, administration.
When's their next meeting?
School board meeting,
Yeah.
beginning of next month,
When am I-
whenever our next meeting is.
Oh, that's right, they just do the first, right?
Yeah, they're a half hour before us, right? So maybe one of us reach out, maybe send an
You
email
can before the
Jack.
next board meeting.
Oh, wait, no, that's September 11th, I'm gone for 2 weeks.
So
It's
maybe,
9/11, I'd rather not do it on 9/11.
maybe reach out to Jack and see if there's a date we can set up with them. Even if it's a Saturday, like we did with Splash Pad,
Right.
we do it on a Saturday morning.
Can we do it next week? I mean, if we're opening up, soft opening, what, Saturday, you said?
Probably open it up Friday night.
Afternoon,
Yeah.
open it at the end
What
of
time
school.
Friday? I'm gonna be there when you open the gate, being at my pickleball stuff.
Open it with the end of school, cause we still don't
Yeah,
have
that
the
myself.
signage to block parking spots and stuff like that, and that'll create a logistic nightmare down there, right? We still gotta figure out the parking spots.
Yeah, I'm kinda gonna leave that up to the school district. I mean, it just, the IGA just says that the, school will offer 6 parking spaces within proximity. So whatever the school feels is, with obviously some of our input, but
Yeah.
I don't wanna say, these are the spots we're taking. I mean, they know where their students kinda use more.
This ribbon
now,
cutting
so-
is basically gonna be a photo op,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's not gonna take more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Figure out Saturday morning, we'll shoot an email out to everyone.
Either Saturday morning or Friday afternoon, either way, late Friday.
You wanna, not this week, no, not this week,
Talking about next week.
the following week.
Oh,
This week is.
This week's
Labor
next
Day.
week, this week's gonna be,
This week
Okay.
we got a busy week with,
maybe speaks on
Concert.
our
Well,
stuff.
and that way too, maybe we can get the signage up and,
Yeah, I would say maybe the week of the 8th, that, maybe, I'm gonna be gone the 9th. If I miss it, but don't plan around me.
if we're just gonna do a photo op, even though it's Labor Day weekend, we can easily just go over there, cut a ribbon, take a picture and call it a
be
day,
done with it, just like you do with the splash pad.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, what if
There
we do
wasn't
this?
much.
You want is anyone doing anything Monday morning?
Oh, for Labor Day?
Anyone doing anything Monday morning? We'll go
Yeah.
over there Monday.
Are you gonna get the
so we
school board
wanna
there?
check with the school?
We'll
Oh, yeah,
We'll shoot
school
Jack
board,
an
that's
email, so shoot Jack an email, see if they wanna be there Monday morning.
We just can't do it one evening next week? I mean, the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, I mean,
Yeah,
they'll be out of school, it's done.
I will not
it'll
be, I won't be around the 8th, but any day between the
5th, 6th, or
5th,
7th?
6th or 7th, you
I
wanna
think
throw?
we'll be out this weekend.
The 7th, we have steering committee, we could do it before, what time was it, 7 o'clock or 6:30? 6:30, that's pushing it for you, or somebody said they could barely make it at 6.
Wednesday the 6th,
George.
the 5th?
Is it
Anybody have a
George?
How about the
preference?
6th?
The 6th, the Wednesday, do
Yeah.
like 5:30 or something? Throw it out to the school
I
board.
saw you- I saw you cringe, Joe. What's,
Like, maybe later.
6
o'clock?
6 o'clock. would be
6
better
o'clock?
for me.
6?
6 o'clock on the 6th,
6 at 6?
You do
I can
that?
set it up, but I won't be here, I probably won't be here,
Where are you gonna be?
my uncle. It's
What
my
else?
uncle day.
What's wrong, what's the 7th? So we have a problem on the 7th?
No, so.
Well,
You said
The
7th.
7th at
Did
6
you have-
would be fine.
7th, Ben?
I should be able to make that work.
And then we
6,
Bob's
or
here
even
for
6:30,
this?
and can you make it
Or what day?
on the 7th? That's Thursday?
That'd be before the steering committee meeting, 6:30.
Yeah, our meeting will be at 6:30, so 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on the 7th?
So we'll throw out the school board.
Yeah.
Then that way Bob can be there for his last photo op with all of us.
It doesn't matter, I just wanna make sure it's coordinated. You need the ribbon, you need the scissors, like we did the splash pad.
Same thing.
And I will,
7th at 6?
I work till 6, but I will screech out 5
We'll wait for
so
you.
minutes early. And
Make
I'll-
sure should we extend the invitation to Mr. Kapoor's, since he was part of the start of
We
this?
might even be down there.
Well, that's,
Yeah, we
what I'm
could.
saying.
We could,
extend it
'cause
to
we
John,
had
'cause he
Scott
was
at
part
the
of the
other-
plan.
Yeah, we had Scott at the splash
Yeah,
pad.
so
Yeah.
John was part of the planning of all this, he met with the school board originally with Todd, so.
Came up with that awesome name too.
He did. Project Pickle. So, alright, so that's Project Pickle. Well, instead, Matt gave me some good news. I met with our contractor out there today. So you can start laying that out, and they're planning the week of,
September 11th, they'll be here to begin that project.
so, getting closer to some new established soccer fields out there by the junior high. Woo-hoo. So, keep it on the agenda, it's gonna be a hot item in September.
Before you move on, I
Yes.
don't think we made a decision about the signs. Do we wanna do something now, generic rules, or just wait until it's open for a little while to see if like something comes up?
I think we
Instead of
should,
having like 6 signs out there.
Probably something generic.
I think something generic, at least to lay some guidelines. What we have on all of our other parks, our properties anyways, is signage
Like
that
hours, no alcohol.
basically, yeah, and then a phone number if you
It's
find
school
damage
property,
being
so
done,
No tobacco use either.
right?
It's school property.
Yeah, one of the main things on our parks is the village hall phone number in case they find damage that they can call somewhere and at least notify us. You know, we'll put it on our weekly checklist when we do our other park inspections for our insurance regulation stuff. But there may be stuff that gets damaged the hour after we leave, you know, so we usually like to have our phone numbers labeled somewhere on our bigger items like that. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I can look up some generic stuff, I'm sure it's out there, it's gotta be out there.
Might have to, I mean, is that something we should talk to the school district if there's anything they need put on there?
I'll talk to Jack, cause I'm gonna talk to Jack about parking spaces
Oh, yeah,
anyways.
that's right. So you gotta
I'll
talk-
meet with him out there and I'll bring it up to him.
Yeah, because tobacco use is one thing that we probably
Yeah,
normally don't
tobacco and
have to worry
alcohol,
about.
right,
Alcohol,
We didn't add any handicap to that idea, did we?
it is, there is one,
So we
One
have,
handicap
so we have to get a
space.
sign for that?
yeah, yeah,
So we are gonna have to designate that space.
a space, yeah.
yeah, alright. And then that was well instead, so, next one. So this is a little bit 4th of July, but it's for Fireman's Park, so, consider a motion approving the proposal in the amount of $24,879.55 from Workus Paving, using the 4th of July Commission funds to pave the stone road behind the stage from Penfield to the footbridge and behind the food stand, contingent on approval from the drainage district, which I did speak with the drainage district, and we have approval of all 3 members. Is it Friday? Sorry, Friday last month. 4 bids, which are enclosed for review for the project, and Workus was the lowest bidder. The commission approved this proposal at the meeting last week, since prices may increase next year, and there is sufficient funding to proceed. Due to the amount of this project, the commission desires to run this through the village board for approval as well. It's also on village property, so, this is one of the projects that the 4th of July Commission's been eyeing up for probably a majority of the 20 years they've existed, Bob. So, the biggest point of doing this is, the drainage issue that's incurred in the food building, in case any of you are wondering why. Right now, the stone road sits above grade of the actual food building, and water tends to wash into that back section back where, like, during the 4th of July where the Lions Club sets up and stuff, so it gets really muddy and it's always a mess washing that all out. Now that the, oh geez, use my words. The gutters are up and everything like that, we've got that problem taken care of, so now getting that stone road out of the way, it'll also eliminate the need for having to have Public Works go down there and grade that thing all summer long, all the dust that's stirred up from it, with all the equipment going back and forth
Potholes.
throughout the year, potholes. Just make it easier, if for any reason we ever need to get emergency vehicles back there or anything, it'll just make it much easier. Drainage district was all on board for it, so everything will be graded away from the buildings, pitched towards the creek, and then that will be the last section of drivable path, even though we don't allow traffic down there, but drivable path that will be leaving the only stone section of the park than the beer stand itself. So, that was the reason for this, so.
I'll just add that that is a 4-inch, 2-inch binder, 2-inch surface, so it'll adhere to the weight of that semi-trailer that's parked down in for the 4th of July Commission and things of that nature, where the rest of the park is only 2 inches,
that's
so
one
for
of
the
the reasons.
walking paths, so this is a 4-inch bid.
Yeah, so it's street grade.
Does the other building got gutters there?
Everything has
I
gutters
mean, I
now.
know the vendor, but I didn't know like the building to the north where the supply stuff is and where
The
the
gar-
rec has all their stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all, it's all.
Yeah, the only building that's not guttered, I think, is the Big Six building.
Big
That's
Six,
it.
yeah.
Everything else is guttered, and so this will kind of take care of all that and help with drainage down there, clean it up a little bit. So. Good. Alright. So, I would like to make a motion approving the proposal in the amount of $24,879.55 from Workus Paving, using 4th of July Commission funds to pave the stone road behind the stage from Penfield to the footbridge and behind the food stand, connecting to the bingo stand.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
I just wanna also say that Fourth of July is able to do this also because they had another successful year. So it's part of it, work that they're down there putting in, so.
And I think they set aside $105,000 total, correct? There's $105 mandatory set aside.
This 25 that we are using for this project is what we set aside last year to be used specifically towards a capital project of this caliber, so.
We still have 105
Yes.
in escrow.
Yes, there's still money set aside, but this was money set aside specifically for capital projects, and we assessed that this would be a capital project to complete.
Okay. Roll call?
Gennady,
Yes?
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
And, yes. That concludes my report.
Planning, Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. The steering committee met this past Thursday for our kickoff meeting. We went over the timeline and procedure of updating the village zoning ordinance as well as an initial review of the zoning map. We will next meet on September 7th to review the first section of the zoning code, which will be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission when they meet on Thursday, September 21st. That concludes my report.
And I will say Bob Hine is also on that steering committee, another volunteer thing he does. Along with Eric and George Scooter.
Make sure it's straight up for you, Bob.
Public Safety Committee, Trustee Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing that I have to report that's not on here is the chief had applied for a recruitment and retention grant, and we actually were awarded that grant to be distributed, I believe, in 2024
This year and next year,
for next year. So it was a total
$2,200.
Yeah, so
22,000.
top thousand.
22.
So each officer, and that's to help us obviously with recruitments, for an incentive enticement to give to officers when they are signing out with Beecher, and then to keep the officers as well. They'll have a little bit of a bonus, so.
So what is it? It's a sign-on bonus and a retention bonus?
Yes, Chief, you want to
Yeah,
It's
elaborate a
only-
little
it's
more?
only a retention, it's only a retention, grant. So all the money will go to our full-time officer.
And how is it gonna be, how you're deciding who gets what? I mean,
Um,
categories?
Well, the way the grant was written, each full-time officer would get $1,000 this October 1st and next October 1st.
They have to be here, like if we hire someone, they have to be here? I mean, is that all guidelines in there? Like, if we lose someone and they get hired September, do they get it? I mean, it's,
Yeah, it says,
they just have to be employed on
they
that
have to
date?
be employed on October 1st of this year
Okay,
and October 1st of next year.
okay. Good,
Okay.
very good.
And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Public Works Committee, Trustee Stacy.
Thank you, Mayor. That was short, Joe.
Thank you.
I'd like to consider a bid award for 2023 street paving project. Country Lane was the roadway specified for the bid. 5 bids were received and opened and are closed for your review. Lowest bid was Workers Paving in the amount of $39,099.03. Before I make my motion, I would like to turn it over to the superintendent because he has additional recommendations that kind of broaden the scope a little bit better.
So with the 600 block of Gould Street, with awarding that bid to Iroquois Paving, we have a remaining balance of $100,000. we have enough funds if, I did talk to Workus to ask if they would be willing to use their same unit pricing on additional roadways in the area, which they agreed to. So our fund balance would allow us to do Country Lane, which was originally bid, as well as Meadow and or Orchard. I would like permission from the board to go back to Workus to get an additional proposal to do the 2 additional roads and to see what that overall cost would be, and then bring it back to you guys to see if it'd be worth doing all 3 roads at one time. If they were to use their same unit pricing, we would be approximately $20,000 shy that we would have to come up with. But I think it'd be, with a price like this, I think it'd be foolish to not try, at least look into trying to do all 3 of those roads over there. We can kind of knock out a large portion of a subdivision that went. Bob, do you any idea of when those roads were last done? 70s?
70s?
70s is what we were
It's old people.
guessing. So with your blessing, I would ask that I could go back to Workus and see if for the next board meeting, if you guys would entertain the idea of coming up with additional funding to do all 3 of the roads over there instead of only 2.
And I'll speak to the 20,000 short. We have the cash and infrastructure. We ran the numbers today to do it. Problem is, we're borrowing off of some of the revenue next year coming in for it, so we may have to take a year off on paving roads. So in '24, you may not be paving roads, but you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. This year, you're doing all the Gould, at least Gould up to Hodges, and then you're doing these 3 streets where the water mains were replaced in the early 2000s to get the road resurfaced, and we never went back and resurfaced those roads. So, and I don't know how you pick and choose. Country of the 3 is the worst.
Is the worst, yeah.
But I'm assuming it's the newest of the 3 because the roads were,
Went from
Orchard
s-
went up,
yeah.
and then Meadow, and then Country. And I don't know how, if I lived on Orchard, how I would feel if the village board said, well, let's just do Country Lane. Wait a minute, my road's older than that road, but Country Lane is in worse shape. And I don't know why that is, but it just is. And there's more undercutting that needs to happen on Chestnut than maybe on the other 2. So the other 2 roads might even come in a little cheaper.
Yeah, I drove Meadow before I came here tonight, and I don't see any undercutting that needs to take place there. Orchard does have
Some undercut.
some, but
There's a lot of water main breaks on Orchard back in the day before we replaced that main.
yeah, like Bob said, all the water main over there was replaced in the early to mid 2000s, from 2005 to 2008.
And this goes back to the fact that water and sewer always had some money to do projects, but the streets are left behind because we just don't have a revenue source for streets, you know? And that's the problem. But now we have an opportunity to jump, and I say do it, but that's up to you guys. Because I don't think you'll ever see a price like that again.
No, I was shocked at where the low 3 bids came in at. I thought this project was going to cost anywhere around $70,000, and we didn't. Not one of the bids was at 70. There was one from Suburban that was close, but I mean, to be getting bids at 39, 43, and 51,000, I thought that was a very good deal for what we're. Those roads are very long, very long. They're almost 2 full blocks.
So if there was consensus to try to get a bid for all 3, then would we pause on awarding this
No,
bid tonight?
award this one.
Award this one, because that locks in our unit pricing.
Gotcha.
That's what they would base their pricing off for the other 2 roads, would be based off of this unit pricing.
And so back on September 10th, waive the bid process because you already have the low established bid on unit price, and award the bid on those 2 streets. And that would be the way to go.
Do we have to contact the other 2 bidders?
No, he's no bid. As long as those price on those streets come at or below this number, you're good. Those streets are identical.
So he was the lowest on the unit price for
Right.
it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
But would the other, I mean, I guess.
You're asking if the bids have to go back out to
Do
the other
they,
ones?
do the bids have to go back out to
They
the other
don't
ones?
have
Because
to, but-
we're wide, but we've changed the project.
They don't have to, but if that's what you wanna do, that's fine.
I think we should, because I think, and I'm not gonna say, I mean, a company could come in, now it's a bigger project, they could come in cheaper.
But is Workus gonna change their unit pricing if they have to
They
do
could.
another total bid?
They could as well, yeah.
They could increase that.
they could increase it if.
And I understand what you're saying, we have in the past though, added on after a lowest bidder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, and that's,
Especially with streets.
yeah, streets are hard because, you know, you don't wanna over-promise to the community of start painting, I mean, cause I gotta paint both sides of the road. You drive down country lane, it's full of pink marks, everyone's excited. Well, then you go back to them and say, oh no, we decided we're not doing your road, but we're gonna do these two roads, then, you know, you're gonna start upsetting
No, I think all
people,
of them
so.
need to be done for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
What you could do, Joe, is award this bid and bid out the other two again, but we gotta do it quick. Because time is of the essence here.
I was leery on going out to bid a second time, cause then workers could come back higher and everyone else could come back higher and then.
Well, at this point, they know what everybody else bid too, right? So-
Everyone knows what everyone bid.
Yeah,
No one's feelings are gonna be hurt on the addition.
And their lowest bid can now be higher.
Yeah,
right.
he'd go up. Everyone else could come in the same, he'd go up and pay more. Not saying it's gonna happen, but
I don't see anybody going down.
no.
If there's no legal ramification from not going back out, I would say,
As long as 2/3 of this board votes to waive the bids on the premise that low unit price has been established.
Which I think it had.
And that's what,
Yeah.
like Ben said, that was my biggest concern, I'm worried about the bidding process and what the legalities are.
I'd say you get the price.
Yeah, so let's approve this and see what else they got.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to award the workers paving in the amount of $39,099.03 for the resurfacing of Country Lane with the addition.
No,
No,
just that.
just stop.
Just that.
As the lowest compliant bidder.
As lowest compliant bidder. Okay.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion. Roll call?
Possession,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti.
Yes.
And then as a consensus, since it's not on the agenda, is it the consensus of the board to approach the low bidder to expand the scope of work and get it in writing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay,
There you
I'll
go.
bring it back to the meeting, to the next meeting.
Yeah, and I'll have two motions on there, waiving the bidding requirements again and expanding the scope of work to the lowest compliant bidder on the first job.
Okay, next, Penfield update.
Oh, well, the last 2 weeks was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks to trustee Stacy and trustee Thierry who helped us with traffic control and getting the kids safely to school. We made it very convenient for parents and students, I thought. In fact, some parents on Facebook were saying, why can't we do this all school year? No.
I'm sure the teachers
I nominate
would love
Roger
it
and
if
Joe.
it's simple.
I'll sit here.
Good job.
But they were happy.
Simple as-
The weather cooperated. There was one morning we had severe storms approaching, but we got all the kids in the building safely before the storms hit. But I think that went well, and they worked all day Saturday. They put in a 10-hour day Saturday to get the east side of Penfield done, and it was reopened. Now they're concentrating right now on getting the bridge done. They didn't pour the bridge deck yet, but they backfilled. The bridge was stone today, I noticed.
Yeah.
And the storm sewer is up to Woodward Street. It looks like right about your front door is where the storm sewer project is right now.
We're having a little trouble with all the lines that are.
Oh, it's terrible. The closer you get to the AT&T switching station, it's gonna get worse. So it's a slog through there with the storm sewer. But once the storm sewer goes in, then they can do the parking lots and get those built. And then once the parking lots are built, then they'll focus on the road. We made it clear to them that we wanted one-way traffic. We didn't want a complete road closure again, especially in front of the post office and fire station. Other than that, you can go down there and watch. The best spot is from the library parking lot. That's where I usually park to go watch the progress, and it's very interesting.
The best spot is on the porch of the police station.
Right now. Yeah. But it's moving right along, and they're planning on everything done by Thanksgiving. That's the target. So, that's it, Brian.
Okay. Indiana Avenue resurface day update, all the sidewalks have been poured. and we're waiting on the binder and final surface. Once the final surface goes down and the quiet zone will be reestablished.
There's still some holes around them. Do they have to do curves or something? There's still some pretty big guts around some of the,
Yeah, where they
Yeah,
did
right
do
sidewalks.
curbs, they still have to remove the top layer of asphalt on the approaches. I think, Bob, didn't they say that the railroad flagger was supposed to be here tomorrow, I
think
believe,
they're
on
supposed to
Tuesday?
start, yeah.
So then they're gonna concentrate on the railroad area first and then work back off of that with paving. They didn't give us a time frame on when the project would be fully complete, but they should be,
Nightmare of road construction this year.
yeah.
Really, it sounds like they're
Lots
starting
getting
to make
done though.
progress again.
Yeah, they will, yeah. They should start working on it again tomorrow. I know it's been kind of dead around here, or at least on Indiana with their project, but that's because they're waiting on the railroad flagger. So they're at their mercy.
Okay, we have the sidewalk replacement program update. I'll turn that over to the superintendent.
I have it on my schedule to go out starting tomorrow to identify the sidewalk areas. I do have the list from the village hall of the complaints that we received this past year. So I usually start with those and make a determination off of that. We have some other areas on Indiana to piggyback off of the Indiana project. They only did the ADA compliant approaches to the intersecting roads, so we do have some areas where the county took trees down, but now we're responsible for replacing the sidewalks
Yeah,
on
some
the
of those
area,
sidewalks
so.
are like
Oh
this.
yeah, they're bad. So that was one area I was gonna concentrate on, and, but hopefully by the next meeting, I'm hoping to have bid proposals for you guys to approve on that night.
That's my report.
all right. Economic Development Community Relations Committee, trustee Sessions.
Thank you very much. Results of summer concert on August 26th. Big Dog Mercer is scheduled to play from 7 to 9, so that actually already happened. I thought it was actually a pretty good turnout, given the fact that the weather kind of took a turn there at the end. And, you know, thank you to the Lions for selling food and drink. And, man, I gotta say they can play. That was an excellent concert, I thought. Next up will be Maggie Speaks on Saturday, September 2nd. Joe, and I think Marcy right now are set for On Point. And, you know, we're looking good to close out the year with a good concert.
What, is that 6 to 9 Saturday?
I believe, yeah, 6 to 9.
A couple of questions that have been floating around, maybe you can answer. Do you want Public Works to put the bleachers in place Friday afternoon?
I think for this one, it's probably a good idea.
Okay, huh?
I talked to Matt before.
Okay, I mean, it's up to you guys, it's your concert, we'll be more than happy to do it.
It sounds like a lot of people are gonna be there from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit further, I think maybe further away from the stage, don't we normally
Back
do?
by the trees.
Like,
And then-
yeah, back by the end of the green there.
One other thing I didn't think about, might need to pull a couple extra garbage cans out.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
That way we're not
And
We'll
maybe
have
Forcing-
some, we'll have some.
forcing
for
garbage
Street.
cleanup.
Yeah, porta
On
potties
Monday.
always
by
bother
the,
me, yes, yeah.
I would probably say maybe even by the beer tent, or, you know, by the beer stand as
Yeah.
well too. Cause I don't know how many people we're gonna be getting, but
Yeah. If I can get down there.
seating maybe.
And is Phil serving beer? Do we know that as a fact?
So I think we're gonna have to follow up with him. I do believe we have asked him to do that. He was supposed to be at this last one too, I believe. So we'll just wanna confirm, but that was the plan
we
originally.
need something there.
I will make sure.
Should be big.
He's got the license for it. He got the license from the county for this one.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe the date got, did we switch this date for Mercer? Wasn't there originally a different date?
I'd have to go back and look at
I
that.
don't know.
Possible. But yeah, so we'll have that, and then Happy Life Ranch is providing, I think, chicken and steak tacos.
Are they gonna need to be getting into the vendor building, or are they gonna be utilizing their own equipment?
I will find out tomorrow, I'm meeting them down there tomorrow, but yeah, either way I'll be around, so whatever time they need to set up, I can let them in if they need to be, so.
I just think the crowd's gonna be big for this one, for what you're doing. That's why I wanna make sure our ducks in a row.
And then, the only other question that we use is who's doing, are we gonna do pop and water? Do we wanna ask a volunteer organization if they wanna sell the pop and water?
If there's an organization that would like to do it, I have no problem with that.
Cause Lions Club did this last one, when the soccer team did it, they took the, you know, so do we wanna just ask someone, everything's there? Do we wanna ask a volunteer organization if they would like to do it? Do you think
Good.
you?
We'll have to jump on it, cause it's,
Yeah, do you think youth commission would be interested in it then, or do you think
Yes.
it's too short notice for
and
them?
then for them
I
to
would
try to get,
expect with the notice that they probably would not be interested. Right now, they're kind of all hands on deck preparing for their parents' night out.
I could, do you wanna,
What about Beecher Rec?
we could ask them, you wanna ask them? If they're interested?
Yeah, I'll make
I mean, if not, whichever ones of us are there, we can sell.
Yeah, or ask them.
We just gotta make sure we get a bank down there for the.
So I have one that I can pass over to somebody that Donna gave me already.
Do you have a
Oh,
bank?
all right.
So maybe ask Beecher if they're interested, if not, we'll.
I'll let you know, yeah. I'll
Just
let you know
thought.
tomorrow.
We have two officers working.
Ah, excellent.
Beautiful. And then, Matt, you're gonna see where they are on Friday and put up appropriate signage.
Yeah, that's what I was, just putting a note in my phone here. Do you still have those cones for the pedestrian bridge this way and all that? Where's
I'll
that
make sure you
located?
get 'em. I
Okay.
gotta talk to Kenny where we put them,
Okay.
if anything, they're in the chip booth.
Ooh,
Yeah, I mean,
just cool.
everybody in town knows how to get there, but
Yeah.
Right.
people coming from out of town, it's gonna be a little difficult
Yeah, we'll
to
put the
get down.
pedestrian bridge this way for the,
right, down
for the.
Penfield Street.
Yeah, down Penfield and then for the, parking lot over there by the elementary school.
And for the benefit of those watching on camera, if there's no room in Fire District parking lot, park on the Miller Street parking lot and walk down the path to the park.
Yep.
It's probably your best bet.
Or you said
Miller Street or the elementary
The
school?
elementary school and
So
come
elementary
across,
school would be good
across
too.
the footbridge.
Fireman's Park and then Miller.
Yep, those three lots will be perfect.
Library.
Library.
Yep. Sounds good. All right, next up, holiday tree lighting ceremony committee meeting is scheduled for this Wednesday, August 30th at 7 p.m. The village has applied for the $2,500 grant. So I think no update on that yet, Bob, probably from the grant.
I'll be
side.
on here on that for a while.
Okay. I have started ordering some of the materials for the Santa's workshop.
Well, that's in the budget, so.
Yeah.
do it.
Finally, update on Union Electronics building in Ileana Crossroads Business Park will be provided by the administrator at the meeting.
We're still waiting on final engineering to get that project underway. But Art has ordered the building and he's planning on pushing dirt by mid-September, so. We still gotta get the final engineering approved by the village engineer.
All right, thank you. That concludes my report then.
Well, let's do any old business to come before the board. All right, we have to go into executive session.
Just one old business, I will not be at the next board meeting, but your packet
Joe.
will be done. So,
Country,
All right.
property.
You're not allowed to.
Oh, it's all
Nice
right.
start, nice start.
We'll bring it up.
Can you do real quick?
We'll just bring it up later.
Any new
Just have them
business to come
added.
before the board?
I said that now.
Pleasure.
Swallow a bug.
I hope it was that fly.
I'll take one for the team, I think they're annoying me. So with our village packets, does anyone actively use these, take them home, keep records of them, or like keep them for a reason? I'd like to get rid of these. We all have laptops that we can bring. I mean, this one's thin, but some of these are 90+ pages. We're talking tens, maybe not tens, but thousands of pages a year that, I don't use this, or what I need is finance I keep, or I can get from Bob, or as Jeanette pointed out to me, instead of calling them, it's online, I can just look it up myself. So does anyone actively want this, need it, use it? If you do, just say so, but I
I
would like to
use
sort
them
of.
at the meeting.
Okay.
I prefer to have paper at the meeting.
Okay.
So do I at the meeting. I review all the stuff online, but when I'm here, I
Do you
write
take
down.
this home then, or is it just?
No, I write my notes, depending on what I do, depending on what I write home.
Okay.
Some I do,
The reason Todd's
Today I
asking this is because we paid for an overage on the copier. In his finance chair, he says, oh, this is something we
Yeah,
can.
we own our copiers, but with our maintenance, our maintenance contract, if we go over a certain amount of copies, and some of the bills, the overage is more than we pay for the maintenance contract. So again, I know some of these are, 90 or more pages. I get it, budget time, I like that stuff too, to see the 5-year plan, but, And if everyone uses it, then everyone use it, but I don't take this home. This is gonna go in Gianotti's as soon as I'm done here. So,
A lot of times
This
there's
is
stuff,
better than mine.
a lot of times there is stuff that probably doesn't have to be in here, like when it's the third time that we've considered something and we put the entire thing that we're considering where we've already seen it, the entire bid, we probably don't need it in there every time. Something like this, where it's something I have to read for National Rail Safety Week, I mean, I kinda need that in there.
I am getting them thinner, if you notice, they're getting
Yeah.
And I don't need all the minutes from, I guess, there are
some of it has to be, if we're gonna,
Well, there's the difference between what gets posted, I would think, and what we have here at the table, technically, right? Some of that stuff has to be posted, I would think, online.
can there be a difference? I don't think there can be a difference
The
between.
entire electronic packet is exactly the same as the paper packet as of now, unless there's new information that's put on your table separately. So that, if it wasn't given to you Friday night, it's on the table but not part of the regular packet. I would never add things to this packet if you didn't see them on Friday.
But I think what Ben's asking is like a Cliff Notes version, but it's gonna be a ton of work for you
Well,
guys.
in the old days, we just did the agenda itself.
Well, I was gonna say, you could just do this part that you're gonna read, you know what I mean? Unless, but then again, if you've got the bids and you need to go back and look at the bids, you don't have them in front of you. Unless you've got your computer.
Yeah.
The problem I had with, when I was using that little computer is if I need to go back and look at a bid and then it's just like, hang on a second.
Okay.
A lot easier in paper.
We'll figure
We'll
something
try to
out.
thin them out, we'll thin them out.
That's all.
Okay. Sign them up. Any other new business to come before the board?
Oh, there was a couple parcels of property that we had pointed out that we wanted to have a committee meeting about, run by the public properties.
That's what this closed session is gonna be about.
So we will need a request to go into executive session.
Yeah. Not the, this.
I don't know.
Hang on a
what
second.
The country, the one on country, the end of Country Lane.
Yeah.
We had
Oh,
decided-
vacation of property.
The vacate, yeah,
Oh,
the one.
let's
that
have a
street-
discussion on that, yeah, I mean, we can authorize,
Sorry.
I can authorize the
That's why I
attorney to
didn't
do
get-
that.
go-
I
go
got
further,
told,
yeah.
I was
I'm
thinking
sorry, yeah.
acquisition of land. I
No,
wasn't thinking-
not land acquisition.
Okay, there are two pieces of property that the Public Buildings and Properties Committee discussed about the village vacating. One is Country Lane between Catalpa and the creek. If that makes sense to you, there's a 66-foot right-of-way through there. Yeah.
I assume it's over here.
And refresh me on the second one.
The one in,
Southfield Park.
Thank you.
Oh, Donut Hole Park, okay.
What is it?
There is a park, originally when Southfield Knoll was
Southfield,
developed, the two
Southfield
roads
down
were
South
gonna be
Woodward.
extended south, and we were gonna have a park in the middle behind all those homes, but that second phase never happened, and now we have half a property. We did see that we have access to it on the south side of Ron Steluka's house.
Correct.
There is a 15
It's just a
foot
piece of
easement.
property that we literally just mow,
But the land is,
that we can't do anything with, we just mow it.
yeah,
We waste manpower mowing it, we're
So
never
what you're
gonna
saying,
be,
put them out?
we're never gonna be able to do anything with it, and if we vacate it equally with the
You're
attorney.
gonna have to
each
meet with the
resident-
property owners to decide what those lines would be, because if they all go to a
It's not shape.
point, I wouldn't want a little pie like that, I'd rather square it off for those people, but we need their permission to do that.
Yeah, so,
We would have to have a meeting with those people and try to square those property lines off.
so I was wondering if we could set
So
up a committee meeting,
give that property to the residents over.
basically,
Yes.
vacate it from the village to the residents, but we gotta have a committee meeting with those
Right,
residents,
and I
right?
think that the two parties on Country already said.
They
they'd
already-
take that.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
we
I spoke with both of them, yeah.
That's an easy one, this park one is a little more.
That one is where we'd have to have a committee meeting and meet with them.
And where that one's where Woodward Dead End South?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
behind,
It's behind all the houses there
all the
that,
homes, it's like
kinda
a
That way-
horseshoe.
Yeah, that way that Beecher Manor, like retirement apartments,
Yeah.
all the way down that street.
backs up to the farm field
Yeah. You'll see like there's one big pie-shaped section of property
behind
right
all the
there.
houses back there. It's,
We
you
just
probably
mow
aren't
it.
even realizing that it's a park.
We literally just mow it, that's all we can do.
Like it's
with it.
literally a park, or that's just a nickname you guys call it?
No,
It was supposed to
It's
be.
considered Southfield Park, but,
But we call it Donut Hole Park,
yeah.
it's like a donut hole.
Just right here?
Yeah.
It's just a big triangle. there's a bunch of houses around it and a couple
Yeah,
empty
okay,
lots.
got you, like it's in the triangle.
Yep,
Got
they
you.
try
There's homes all the way around, but if
That's
we,
more like a
we
Rob
mow,
instead of-
we basically mow that triangle up to
the law
everyone's
says
backyard.
you have to equally distribute the property, so you set a center point in that donut hole, so everyone would point right to it, so they would have a little sliver of property.
So Todd, at some point, like, set something up with residents.
Yeah,
We'd have to run the lines off.
we know.
I just wanted to bring it up to everyone, so everyone was aware of it.
Like, the first step on Southfield Knoll is to meet with the residents and see what they wanna do. Country Lane is strictly a vacation, ordinance of vacation.
Yeah, both parties are willing to accept, so.
That'd be a good
That was-
thing. That road will never
So
go.
maybe have the attorney draw that one up, and then we'll have to set up, maybe me and Todd can talk to you and set up a committee meeting with the Donut Hole Park.
Okay.
Yeah, this one.
Now I'm just gonna keep calling it Donut Hole
Donut
Park.
Park.
Project Donut Hole, let's go.
It's a triangle donut.
Triangular donut hole.
Food projects.
Protein circles, middles, Project Protein Circle.
Crop circles.
Name.
All right, do we have a motion to go into executive session to discuss land acquisition for a donation of land for parks and recreation purposes?
I make that motion.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second? There's a motion and a second, roll call?
We just got rid of
You guys.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
This is what you have to sign.
You know what happened is this Kraus was